He had not planned to come. That was the first thing Daniel understood
Gloria,
when he found himself pulling into the
I
parking lot
finally-
of Polly's Diner on a
I finally
Tuesday
found
afternoon
you.
in November. That he had not planned this. That the drive had happened the way certain things happen when you stop arguing with yourself long enough for your body to go where it knows it needs to go. He had left his office at 1:30 with the intention of driving to a meeting on the other side of the city. He had taken a wrong turn that was not a wrong turn, and driven 40 minutes in the wrong direction, and ended up here, in a parking lot outside a diner he had not been inside since he was 17 years old. The sign was the same. He had not expected that. Polly's, red letters on white, the apostrophe always slightly crooked. 35 years and the sign was the same. He sat in the car for 4 minutes, then he got out. The bell above the door was the same bell. He heard it and felt something shift in his chest. Not pain, not nostalgia, something older than either of those. The specific physical recognition of a sound that had marked the beginning and end of his shifts for 11 months when he was 17 and had nowhere else to be. The diner was not full. A Tuesday in November, 2:30 in the afternoon, 4 customers at tables, 1 man at the counter reading a newspaper. The specific amber warmth of a diner in the middle of the afternoon when the lunch rush is over and the dinner rush has not begun. The smell, coffee and griddle, and the particular warm, ordinary smell of a room that has been feeding people for decades. He took a stool at the counter, the second one from the left. He did not think about why he chose it. It was where he had always sat on the rare occasions he had been allowed on the customer side of the counter. On Christmas Eve, when Polly Sr. closed early and told the staff they could eat before they left. Gloria came out of the kitchen past before he had picked up the menu. She looked at him. She said, "Daniel Worth." He had not given his name. He had not spoken. He had sat down and she had come through the pass and said his name before he could say a word, and the sound of it, his name, in her voice, in this room, did something to him that he had not been prepared for and could not have prepared for. He said, "Gloria." She said, "You look like yourself. Older, but like yourself." He said, "It's been 35 years. She said, "I know how long it's been." She set a coffee cup in front of him and filled it without asking. "You still take it black?" He said, "Yes." She said, "Some things don't change." She went back to the counter to check on the man with the newspaper. She refilled his coffee. She called something through to the kitchen in a voice that was the same voice he remembered, not loud, simply carrying, the voice of a woman who knows exactly how far her voice needs to go. She came back. She said, "What brings you back?" He said, "I don't know entirely." She looked at him. She said, "Honest answer." He said, "I've been having a difficult month." She said, "What kind of difficult?" He said, "The kind where everything is working and nothing feels right." She nodded slowly, the nod of someone who recognizes this particular variety of difficult. She said, "You want the usual?" He looked at her. He said, "You remember my usual." She said, "Patty melt, extra pickles, fries well done. You ordered it every Friday when Polly let you eat at the end of your shift." He said, "Every Friday for 11 months." She said, "I know." She turned and called the order through to the kitchen without writing it down. Then she came back and put her hands on the counter and looked at him with her bright, dark eyes. "You built something." It was not a question. He said, "Yes." She said, "I heard. Somebody showed me an article a few years back. One of the regulars, he follows that kind of thing." He said, "Gloria, you know this man?" And I said, "I knew him when he was 17 and too thin and worked harder than anyone Polly ever hired." Before we continue, if you believe that the people who see us clearly in our worst moments are the ones who make our best moments possible, please like this video, subscribe to Still Waters Stories, and share this with someone who needs to believe in people again today. He was 17 when his mother left, and his father's drinking became the kind that required action rather than accommodation, and the apartment they had lived in became a place he could not be after 10 o'clock at night. He was 17, and he had a friend whose cousin knew Paulie Sr., and Paulie Sr. needed a dishwasher who would come in at 4 and stay until close and not ask questions about the cash arrangement. Daniel had been that dishwasher for 11 months, from October of the worst year to September of the year things began, barely, to turn. He had not had enough to eat for most of those 11 months. Not dramatically, not the starvation of catastrophe, but the specific, persistent not-enoughness of a boy managing on very little with no one managing it for him. He had learned to make calculations, which dollar went where, what could wait, what could not. He had been very thin. Gloria had noticed. She had not said anything about it directly, which was the thing he had understood even at 17 to be the correct instinct. The thing that would have made him leave if she had said it directly was her not saying it directly. She had simply, on slow nights, put extra food on his plate when she brought it back to the dish station. A second piece of pie, a larger portion, a bowl of soup that had not been ordered. She had brought it back and set it down without comment and gone back to the counter. He had eaten everything, every time. He said, "You used to bring me extra food on slow nights." She said, "I don't remember that." He said, "Gloria." She said, "I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about." He looked at her. She was looking at the counter, straightening the napkin holder, her face doing the specific thing a face does when it is pretending not to know something it knows. He said, "You brought me extra food on slow nights for 11 months. A second piece of pie, soup, extra fries. You never put it on the ticket and you never mentioned it." She said, "Food would have gone to waste otherwise." He said, "It wouldn't have." She said, "Well," she looked up, "you needed it." He said, "Yes." She said, "That's all." He said, "That's not all." She waited. He said, "When I was 17 and living the way I was living, the reasons not to keep going were louder than the reasons to keep going." He said it quietly, without drama, the way you say something that is simply true and has always been true. In here was the only place that felt like somewhere. Like a place where things were ordinary and warm and the same every day. Like a place I was allowed to be. She was looking at the counter. He said, "You talked to me. Not about anything important. What was on the menu, what the weather was, whether the Cubs had won. But you talked to me the way you'd talk to anyone. Like I was anyone." She said, "You were." He said, "I didn't feel like it." She said, "I know. That's why I talked to you like you were." The food came up in the pass. She brought it out herself, the patty melt, extra pickles, fries well done, on the same oval diner plates he remembered. She set it in front of him. She went to check on her other customers. She came back. She said, "How's the month?" "The difficult kind." He said, "I built this company over 20 years, and it's worth more money than I know how to think about. And I sat in a board meeting last week and looked around the table and thought, I don't know a single person in this room. Not really." She said, "You know them like business." He said, "Yes." She said, "But not like this." He said, "No." She said, "Like what this is?" He said, "I don't know what this is." She said, "This is a diner, Tuesday afternoon. You're eating a patty melt. I'm working. Nothing is happening." He said, "Yes." She said, "That's what you needed at 17 too. Somewhere nothing was happening in a good way." He ate, she worked. The man with the newspaper left. A family came in for an early dinner, 2 children who wanted chocolate milk, a mother who looked tired, a father who looked at the menu too long. Gloria took their order with the specific patience of someone who understands that a family arriving at a diner on a Tuesday is often a family that needed somewhere to go. She brought the chocolate milk before they asked twice. He watched her work. He had watched her work at 17 from the dish station, through the pass, the blur of her yellow dress and her quick hands. He watched her now from the counter stool and understood something he had been too young to understand then, that what she did was not small. That the ease of it, the coffee refilled before it was empty, the food brought without being asked, the name remembered across 35 years, was not ease at all, but the accumulated result of 39 years of choosing to pay attention to the people in front of her. That it was, in fact, the most difficult thing he had watched anyone do consistently, and he had built a company and managed 1,000 people, and not once done it with the unbroken attention she brought to a diner counter on a Tuesday afternoon. When he finished eating, she came to clear his plate. He said, "Gloria." She said, He said, "I want to tell you something." She looked at him. He said, "There was a night. I was 17. It was January. It was very cold, and I had been deciding for about a week whether there was a point." He said it simply, without softness, the way you say something true that you have finally decided to say. "I came in for my shift and you brought me a bowl of soup I hadn't ordered and you said, 'Eat this, it's cold out.' And then you told me that the radiator in the back had been fixed and it would be warmer at the dish station tonight." She was very still. He said, "I don't know if you know what that was. Probably it was just a bowl of soup and a thing about the radiator. But I had been deciding for a week, and after that I stopped deciding." She said nothing for a moment. Then she said very quietly, "I didn't know that." He said, "I know. That's why I'm telling you." She put her hand over his on the counter. Just briefly, the same way she had put extra food in front of him at 17, without comment, without making it a thing. Then she took it away and picked up his plate. She said, "You want pie?" He almost laughed. He said, "Yes." She brought him pie. She sat on the stool at the end of the counter, the stool where she always sat on slow afternoons, he remembered, and they talked for 40 minutes about nothing important. What the neighborhood had become, what Paulie Jr. had done with the menu, whether the Cubs had any hope this year, which they agreed they did not. At 4:15 he put on his coat. He looked at the check she had left face down on the counter. He turned it over. $11.40. He said, "Gloria, is Paulie Jr. here?" She said, "In the kitchen." He said, "Can I speak to him?" She called back to the kitchen. Paulie Jr. came out, stocky, apron, the look of a man who has recognized a name and is managing his expression about it. Daniel said, "I want to talk to you about this building, whether you own it or lease it, and about what you'd need to stay open for another 20 years. Paulie Jr. looked at him. He looked at Gloria. He said, "We lease. The rent has been an issue." Daniel said, "Give me the owner's contact information." He did not explain further. He shook Paulie Jr.'s hand. He shook Gloria's hand. She had come around the counter, which she never did, which meant something. She held his hand for a moment with both of hers, the same way she had held it briefly on the counter, and looked at him with her bright, dark eyes. She said, "You turned out." He said, "You helped." She said, "I brought you soup." He said, "I know what you brought me." He went out through the same door, past the same bell. In the parking lot, the November afternoon was cold, and the city was somewhere beyond the highway in the distance, and his phone had 17 missed calls that he did not look at yet. He sat in the car. He thought about a bowl of soup in January, about a radiator fixed in the back, about 35 years of building something from the year that had almost not had a year after it. He made 2 calls. The first was to his assistant. He told her to find the owner of the building that housed Paulie's Diner and have the contact information on his desk by morning. The second call he made before he started the car. It rang 3 times. His father answered. They had not spoken in 9 years. Daniel said, "It's me. I'm not calling about anything specific. I've been somewhere today that reminded me that I didn't used to think there'd be a me to call from. And I thought you should know there is." His father was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I know. I've been watching." Daniel said, "I know you have." They talked for 22 minutes in the parking lot of Polly's Diner while the November light faded and the sign above the door glowed red and white in the early dark. Polly's, the apostrophe slightly crooked, the same as it had always been. He drove home. He had 17 missed calls and a board presentation in the morning and a company worth $800 million and one bowl of soup that had changed the direction of everything, given by a woman who did not know she had given it. He knew. He had always known. He had just never been back to say so. Until today. If this story moved you, please like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to Stillwater's Stories for more stories of courage, grace, and the small human decisions that turn out to matter more than anyone knew. And tell us in the comments, is there someone from your past who held you together without knowing it?